Hi guy, welcome back to my channel. We've explored the supernatural things that science can't explain. But today, let's explore the horrifying experiments done by humans themselves. You will realize that human wickedness is scarier than any ghost or demon. Prepare your mind to confront the dark corners of humanity. But also remember that understanding history helps us prevent these things from repeating. If any of these cases shock you, let me know in the comments right away.
1. Unit 731.
Today, we step into a dark chapter of human history, where unimaginable atrocities took place. Unit 731. This is a difficult, painful story, but it needs to be told so we never forget. Prepare yourself, because this journey won't be easy, but I believe that understanding the past is the way to build a better future.
Did you know that during World War II, a respected doctor froze prisoners alive to study how they died? Dr. Hisato Yoshimura arrived at Unit 731 in Manchuria on December 15, 1940. He carried medical instruments, claiming it was for research. Before the war, he was known as a brilliant physiologist at top universities. But in the frozen wasteland of Manchuria, he became something else entirely. Yoshimura would drag prisoners outside in sub-zero temperatures and leave them there for hours. He watched their limbs turn black as frostbite set in. Then he tested different treatments, pouring boiling water on frozen arms and legs. The prisoners screamed as their skin peeled away like paper. Sometimes he would hit their frozen limbs with hammers, watching them shatter like glass. His notes described every detail with cold precision, ignoring the human suffering. In his final experiments, he froze entire bodies while the victims were still conscious. After the war, American authorities covered up his crimes in exchange for his research data. Evil disguised as science.
You thought the freezing experiments were horrible enough. No, the following acts are truly worse.
Did you know that in 1937, doctors conducted live surgery on conscious prisoners without any anesthesia? In Harbin, China, Japanese microbiologist Shiro Ishii built what looked like a water treatment plant. But behind those clean white walls, something horrifying was happening. 3,000 researchers worked there, but they weren't purifying water. They were experimenting on living human beings. Chinese civilians, Soviet prisoners, men, women, even children were brought in daily. The doctors would strap them down and begin cutting while they were fully awake. They removed organs one by one, studying how long victims could survive. Others were infected with plague and anthrax, then dissected to watch the disease spread. In freezing chambers, they tested how quickly frostbite would destroy limbs. Over 10,000 people died in these experiments. When the war ended, America made a deal with the devil. They gave all the researchers immunity in exchange for their data. The victims' families never got justice, and the truth stayed buried for decades.
The video couldn't cover all the horrific details, so I'll tell you. They used prisoners to test weapons like guns and grenades, performed live vivisections to remove organs like the stomach, connect the intestines to the esophagus, or switch the positions of limbs. They placed prisoners in low-pressure chambers until their eyes bulged or their chests exploded. They hung people upside down to study blood pressure. They injected horse blood or seawater into veins. These acts had no clear scientific purpose, only reflecting sheer depravity. Women were forced into pregnancy to supply newborns for experiments, or subjected to live dissection at various stages of pregnancy to study fetal development. These particularly cruel acts extended the average lifespan of a prisoner to about 2 months. These actions had no clear scientific purpose, only demonstrating how terrifying human cruelty can be. What are your thoughts? Let me know in the comments.
2. LGBTQ aversion therapy.
Next are the experiments related to LGBTQ+ individuals. Project Aversion in South Africa lasted nearly 20 years with the goal of curing homosexuality. Hundreds of victims were forced to undergo painful electric shock therapy. When this method failed, they moved to more extreme measures like chemical castration and forced gender reassignment surgery, many cases of which were left unfinished.
Inhuman Experiments in History. Part 1. LGBTQ+ Aversion Therapy. Aversion therapy, a notorious chapter, targeted the LGBTQ+ community unjustly. Designed for behaviors like alcoholism, it wrongly sought to correct sexual orientations. Electric shocks and drugs caused deep psychological trauma, violating human dignity. By the 1970s, awareness led to the rejection of such inhumane practices. Today, it's a reminder to respect and uphold ethical research and human rights. We advocate for a compassionate, ethical future.
I don't understand why so many people sought out this project, willing to hurt their own children because they didn't meet their expectations. Sexual orientation is something that should be respected in everyone. Project Diversion is a heartbreaking example of the abuse of power. What do you think about targeting a group of people for their very nature? Leave a comment and hit like to continue our journey exploring these horrifying experiments.
3. Henrietta Lacks and Hella Cells.
Next, we will discuss the case of Henrietta Lacks, a woman who unknowingly became the center of a medical revolution, but the price was a severe ethical violation. Let's explore her story.
1951, an African-American woman entered Johns Hopkins Hospital with pain and bleeding. Her name, you might have heard of her, is Henrietta Lacks. Henrietta was the mother of 5 children, and she worked harvesting tobacco. Like many poor women of her time, she arrived too late for a diagnosis. The cervical cancer had already spread. And at the time, Henrietta didn't know that this hospital, one of the few that accepted Black patients, not only would treat her body, but would also take something from her without her permission, something that would change history. During her treatment, doctors collected samples of her tumor. No one explained it to her. It was a common practice among low-income patients. But what happened in the lab was unlike anything before. Her cells did not die. While other patients' cells degraded within hours, Henrietta's multiplied with astonishing vitality. Again and again, they doubled every 24 hours, an immortal cell line. The scientific world had just received a miracle. With those cells, for the first time, scientists could test vaccines, medications, and genetic theories without human risk. They were used to create the polio vaccine, study cancer, understand viruses, and even explore the effects of gravity in space. It all began with Henrietta Lacks, a woman without access to science who became its foundation. Henrietta died weeks after the diagnosis, and she never knew that her body would give rise to HeLa, the most important cell line in the history of medicine. Her family only found out about this 20 years later, when scientists revealed that her mother's genes were all over the planet. Today, her cells are still alive in laboratories all around the world. Millions of lives have been saved, and a name that was erased from history for so long is now remembered. Henrietta Lacks did not survive cancer, but she did make it possible for millions of others to do so. If you want to hear more about this incredible story, there is a #1 New York Times bestseller, The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks.
In 2021, the Lacks family sued Thermo Fisher Scientific for profiting from the HeLa cells. And in 2023, they received compensation after more than 70 years. Henrietta Lacks' story raises questions about privacy and medical research. Do you think her family received the justice they deserved? Share your opinion and hit subscribe to continue exploring.
4. Joseph Mengel's twin research.
I will introduce you to one of the most brutal figures in history, Joseph Mengele, the Angel of Death. Let's explore his horrifying experiments on twin children, where he even sewed pairs of twins together to make them conjoined. Watch the video below.
Did you know that one Nazi doctor turned 3,000 children into human lab rats? In 1943, Dr. Joseph Mengele arrived at Auschwitz-Birkenau with a twisted obsession for twins. He would stand on the selection ramp, pointing his white gloved finger left or right. But when he spotted twins, his eyes would light up with excitement. Those children were sent to special barracks, given extra food and better treatment. They had no idea what was coming next. Mengele started with simple measurements, recording every detail about their bodies. Then came the painful injections, filling their veins with unknown chemicals. He would remove organs from one twin and transplant them into the other. Both remained awake during the entire procedure, screaming as he cut them open. When Allied forces liberated the camp, they found jars filled with preserved eyes and organs. Mengele had escaped to South America, where he lived freely for decades. His twisted experiments led to modern medical ethics laws that still protect patients today.
5. Abigail Experiment, Area 51.
The Abigail Experiment, rumored to be a dark science project or a terrifying urban legend, This story sparks both curiosity and fear in many. Was Abigail a victim of a brutal experiment or a supernatural entity?
The Area 51 project turned a beautiful woman into a fierce monster. This story was leaked by a former janitor who worked at the experiment location and was willing to risk his life to tell this story. The story goes like this. After World War II, a doctor named Dr. Western wanted to create super soldiers like Captain America who could withstand bullets, bombs, and go without food and water for a long time. However, no one wanted to be his test subject because the experiments were considered inhumane. Dr. Western needed people to mutilate, inject with various drugs, and shoot for testing purposes. Dr. Western decided to experiment on his own daughter, Abigail, a young college student who wanted to become a scientist like her father. Abigail initially refused, but her father convinced her to participate in the experiment. Abigail underwent horrific procedures, including surgeries, implant insertions, drug testing, mutilation, and being shot. Over time, her body underwent significant changes, such as enlarged bones, stretched skin, and oversized teeth. Her body shape became distorted, and her humanity slowly disappeared, turning her into a ferocious beast. Dr. Western's colleagues urged him to stop the experiment, calling it inhumane, especially since it was being conducted on his own daughter. However, Dr. Western insisted on continuing, claiming that if he stopped, the government would kill Abigail due to the experiment's failure. The more terrifying aspect was that the cooks would prepare large portions of food and leave them in Abigail's room, only to hear screams, cries, and scratching sounds coming from inside. In 1947, Dr. Western couldn't take it anymore and ended his life, but not before making a request to the government to try to reverse Abigail's condition. The government agreed not to kill Abigail, but instead tried to starve her to death by stopping food supplies. On the first day, many employees heard loud screams and scratching sounds coming from Abigail's room. When they checked the room, they found that the iron door had been broken, and the guards who were supposed to be watching Abigail had been eaten, leaving only skeletal remains. Since Abigail was difficult to kill, the guards trapped her in the basement, locking her in with steel plates and concrete. However, over 70 years later, many employees claim to still hear screams coming from the west side of the building where Abigail was locked up. It's believed that Area 51 is heavily guarded and restricted because they're afraid Abigail might escape, and they don't know how to stop her.
I will show you the video circulating online. The Abigail experiment, whether real or just a legend, is a story that makes us shiver about the line between science and ethics. Do you think Abigail really exists? Or is she just a story to scare people? Share your thoughts in the comment.
6. Dog with 2 heads.
The Two-Headed Dog Project, performed by Vladimir Demikov, aimed to explore the possibility of organ transplantation and the restoration of life. In these Soviet experiments, Demikov grafted the head of one dog onto the body of another. As a dog lover, I was haunted by this for a long time.
This is why scientists will never make a two-headed dog again. In the 1950s, a Soviet scientist named Vladimir Demikov surgically attached the upper body of a puppy, so like the head, the front legs, and all, to the neck of a full-grown German shepherd. He connected the blood vessels so the puppy's head could stay alive off of the adult dog's circulatory system. It was really creepy. Both of these dogs could blink, move, and even drink milk at the same time. Here is the absolutely horrifying part. The puppy's throat wasn't connected to a stomach, so when the puppy drank milk, it would just spill out. It's really sad. The head was alive, but it basically had no function. These dogs would survive for days, even weeks. Demikov's longest dog lived 29 days before dying because of organ rejection and infection. And get this, he didn't just do it once. Over the next 15 years, he created 20 two-headed dogs. It was so sad. They were paraded around, showed to the press, and to some people this was like groundbreaking science, but to other people like me, this is literally cruelty. These surgeries actually paved the way for organ transplants. So yes, this did help save human lives later, but at what cost? Like, you're really trying to tell me that saving humans really justifies creating animals that can't survive just to like see what happens? Like, I really feel like this crosses a line. This wasn't just a lab test, it was consistently turning animals into living science experiments with no chance of a long-term survival. And like, look at these two, it breaks my heart. Even though this helped medicine, we don't literally need to know every single thing we are capable of. These dogs had no way to consent. Like, I feel like just because we can doesn't mean we should.
This is too horrible. I need a glass of water to calm down. Let's take a break and pet your dogs or cats. Because they are our best friends. Don't hurt them. Drop a comment and let me know which lost media game or video you want me to explore next. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow so I can keep protecting you from these creepy mysteries. Thanks for watching, my dear friends. See you in the next video. Bye.